Hi, I'm one of the leads in fiber arts at the Spark Makerspace on State Street in New London, Connecticut. This recording is intended to show you in great detail how to make one design of a face mask. There are many different designs, but this pattern is my favorite, and I've made over 500 of them. It's a good solid design and relatively easy to make with minimal materials. Please note that if you're planning to make masks for distribution to those in the medical community, such as nurses, first responders, staff in the nursing homes, etc., there are pretty strict specifications that are to be followed. If you don't follow them, the masks will be useless to them, or worse, put them at increased danger. I'll point out these specifications as we go along. Additionally, please note that I'm making the assumption that you already have basic sewing skills. If you don't have the basics, you're certainly welcome to give it a try. Use this video as a guide as you're actually constructing your masks. Start and stop it as needed, at each step even, for maximum assistance. Think of it as if I'm standing right there with you. If you have any questions or need clarification, simply email fiberarts@sparkmakerspace.org, and I'll do my best to respond to your question. Once this crisis is all over and things have returned to normal, I encourage you to visit Spark and join as a member, or at least take some of our classes, including sewing classes. The masks that I make are of 100% cotton. If you're making them for the medical community, it must be 100% cotton. Quilter's cotton is ideal, or a heavy weave bed sheeting will also work. This is important because the fabric has to withstand the temperatures of an autoclave. If you're making them for yourself or family for general use, cotton polyester blend will be fine. These masks are not intended as substitutes for N95 or surgical masks. They are added protection for the general population and those with lighter and less significant exposure, or when no other option is available. The mask should fit snugly, covering the bridge of the nose, the mouth, and end below the chin. This mask is 2 layers with an opening for inserting additional layers or filter material. Filter materials might include non-woven interfacing, additional fabric, or coffee filters. Additional layers create additional filtering ability, but you need to balance additional filtering with breathability. If you can't breathe through the layers, you're defeating the purpose. Vacuum cleaner bags are not recommended for filters because they can contain particles and are difficult to breathe through. So the materials you'll need. You'll need the mask pattern. The pattern is 2 pieces, the outside and the lining. The pattern is attached in PDF format. Print the pattern and cut out each piece. 1/2 of a yard of fabric. 100% tightly woven fabric such as quilter's cotton, or at least 180 thread count bed sheets or pillowcases. Note that fabrics with an obvious right side and wrong side are much easier to use when making this pattern. The quantity of fabric needed depends on how many masks you're going to make. 1/2 a yard of fabric will be plenty to make 1 mask. If you're careful, you can probably get 2 masks out of 1/2 a yard. Do not intentionally cut fabric into smaller pieces. You will get more masks out of larger pieces of fabric. You may use different fabrics for the lining and the outside layer, or you may use the same fabric. 64 inches of wide, double-fold bias tape for each mask. This is optional. If you have it, you can use it to speed the construction process. If you don't have it, you can cut fabric strips and make your own straps. I'll show you how to do both. A sewing machine. You can hand sew masks if you're making them for yourself, but if you're making them for the medical community, hand sewing is not durable enough to withstand the stressful use and cleaning that their masks undergo. Sharp scissors, an iron, a few straight pins, and a hard, clean, flat working surface. Note that this mask does not use elastic for 3 reasons. First, it isn't as adjustable to allow wearers to get a tight fit. Second, elastic doesn't hold up well for those in the medical community who have to wash their masks in an autoclave, which exposes the elastic to very high temperatures. And third, Extended wear of the elastic on the ears is uncomfortable. Preparation of the materials. It is critical to wash the fabric before you begin. This removes the finishes of the fabric and also pre-shrinks it. After washing, if needed, iron out any major wrinkles. Otherwise, the fabric will be difficult to work with. Let's look at the step-by-step construction. Okay, now you've collected and prepared all of your materials, let's get started. We'll start with laying out and cutting the pattern. On your clean, flat, hard surface, spread out your fabric double layers. Just fold it in half. You'll cut 2 mirror image pieces at one time. I recommend placing the right sides of the fabric together so that you're looking at the back side or the wrong side of the fabric, not the actual print. Place your 2 pattern pieces on the fabric and try to place the pattern pieces close together to maximize the number of masks you can make from the fabric and to allow room for your ties. You can either trace the pattern pieces with a marker or you can pin the pieces to hold them in place. Note that if you're making your own ties, you will also need to cut 4 strips of fabric for each mask that are 16 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. Okay, so cut out your pieces. You will end up with 2 mirror image outside pieces and 2 mirror image lining pieces. If you cut your ties, you should also have 4 pieces that are 16 inches by 1.5 for each mask. Let's start with constructing the lining. Note that in this video I'll be using very contrasting colors of fabrics and threads to try to more clearly visually demonstrate the steps I'm performing. Let's start constructing the lining. Take one of the lining pieces and lay it with the wrong side or underside facing up to you. Fold the side under about 1/4 inch and stitch it down. Here we see 2 versions of the lining. The printed fabric on the left helps to clearly demonstrate how the fold should appear on each of the 2 lining pieces. The solid color fabric helps to clearly demonstrate what the stitching should look like. Repeat this for the other lining side. You'll end up with 2 mirror image pieces. Place the 2 pieces together with the wrong side or undersides on the outside and pin them together if necessary. Stitch a 1/2 inch seam along the front curved edge. Again, I'm showing 2 different versions of the lining, one on printed fabric and the other on solid fabric. Make several snips along the stitched curve, approximately 1/2 inch apart. These snips will allow the curve to lie smoothly. Be careful not to snip your stitches. Press the seam to one side so that it lies flat and smooth. Optional, if you want, you can top stitch the curved edge flat, but it's not necessary. Set your lining aside. Now let's work on the outside. Okay, so now take your 2 outside pieces and place the 2 pieces together with the wrong side or the underside on the outside facing you, and pin them together if necessary. Stitch a 1/2 inch seam along the front curved edge. Again, make several snips along the stitched curve about 1/2 inch apart. And again, these snips will allow the curve to lie smoothly. Once again, a warning, be careful not to snip your stitches. Just as in the lining, press the seam to one side so that it lies flat. Again, you have the option to top stitch the curved edge if you like. Now, let's assemble it. Take your finished outside piece and your finished lining piece and place them together with the wrong sides on the outside. Match the middle seams at the top and bottom and pin it together. Notice that the outside piece will be longer than the lining piece. Stitch a 1/2 inch seam across the top and stitch a 1/2 inch seam along the bottom. Do not stitch the sides. Again, make several snips along the stitched seams, approximately 1/2 inch apart. Once again, these snips will help the curves to lie smoothly. And again, a caution about being careful, do not snip your stitches. Now turn the assembled mask so that the right side is on the outside and press it flat. Once again, you have the option, if you want, to top stitch the top and the bottom edges flat. And once again, do not stitch the sides. Lay the mask flat with the lining facing you. On one side, fold the end over toward you 1/4 inch and press it flat. Fold the end over again, this time up to the edge of the lining, and press it flat. Repeat this for the other side. Set the completed mask aside while you prepare your ties. If you're making bias tape ties, you're going to want to cut your bias tape into 4 16-inch pieces. Fold it down the middle along the length of the tape and stitch it closed along the entire length of each piece. Here you see a piece of bias tape partially stitched to illustrate the fold and where to stitch. Let's talk about how to make your fabric ties. If you don't have bias tape or prefer to make your own ties, you should already have cut 4 pieces of fabric that measure 1.5 inches by 16 inches. Place the strips of fabric with the wrong side facing you. Fold down 1/4 inch along the 16-inch length of the tie and press it flat. Repeat this for the other side of the 16-inch length. Now fold the piece in half along the 16-inch length again, completely enclosing the fabric raw edges, and press it flat. And stitch the length of the 16 inches. Repeat this for all 4 ties. Okay, now it's time to attach the ties to your finished mask. Place your completed mask with the lining side facing you. Start on one side, fold the pressed ends into place, and slide 1 tie inside the top and 1 tie inside the bottom. Pin it in place and stitch. Repeat this for the other side. Now fold each tie toward the outside of the mask, pin them in place, and stitch again. Again, repeat this for the other side. Be sure that when you're stitching the ties in place that you do not stitch the opening for inserting the filter material. The side openings are for inserting additional filtering materials, such as non-woven interfacing, coffee filters, additional fabric layers, etc. When you've finished attaching the ties, the side will look like this from the outside. Let's talk about how to properly wear the mask. The curved portion is the top of the mask and is intended to sit on the top of the bridge of your nose. The openings for the filter material should be worn on the inside of the mask against your cheeks. Tie the top 2 straps tightly together in a bow on the head. Repeat for the bottom 2 straps at the back of the neck. Pro tip: I find that as a person with longer hair, wearing my hair in a ponytail provides a place for the top ties to sit and not move around on my head. Another pro tip for those who wear glasses: wearing the glasses a little lower than normal on the bridge of your nose will help to minimize fogging your glasses during wear. Let's talk about caring for the mask. The mask should be washed after use every day in hot soapy water. Masks should never be worn wet, whether from washing or from moisture after extended use. The virus is attracted to and will attach to moist surfaces. When the masks are wet, they are less effective, so be sure to allow the mask to fully dry before use. Spark Makerspace. Spark is very involved in our local community and regularly gives back. For example, during this crisis, we have, among other things, made and distributed hundreds of face masks. All fabric was donated by Spark Makerspace, and all labor donated by Spark members. Visit https://www.sparkmakerspace.org. Please consider going to the website and making a donation to help support Spark. Thank you in advance for your donation, and thank you for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and we look forward to seeing you at Spark Makerspace in the future.